That was Riza Ali, a climber who was forced to turn back when he ran out of oxygen while queuing to summit Mount Everest. He was one of the lucky ones. More people have died on Everest this past week than in the whole of 2018. Most of the deaths have been attributed to exhaustion, as some climbers say they had to queue for up to 12 hours to reach the summit. Nepalese authorities deny that overcrowding is to blame, but many argue that far too many permits are issued to often inept climbers. Well, joining me now from Kathmandu is Ram Nepal. He's the managing director of Alpine Rescue Service, a Nepali emergency relief operator. And in Shigatse, China, is Adrian Ballinger. He's a professional mountain guide and the founder of Alpenglow expeditions. Good to have you both on the program, gentlemen. Ram Nepal, I guess you would agree that it's probably unwise for the Nepalese government to say that there is no overcrowding. It's clear that there's overcrowding. We're reading the reports, we're seeing the pictures. It doesn't look as if this is being managed properly. Would you agree that first things first, no matter who you blame, there is overcrowding?
I would say this year there is a few reasons why it's overcrowded. The first reason, this year we got a short window. Yes, there is enough crowd. I agree there is enough crowd, but all expedition operator knows there are going to be crowd. All the climber heading up in the Himalayas on a summit, they know it's going to be crowded. I do not deny there were no crowd. There is crowd, but that have some role to play. I do agree.
And Ram, has the overcrowding led to people dying?
This is I would not give 100% on this. There are several other factors. But it's for the casualty. There is several other factors play the roles. It's not the first time we lose the life on the Mount Everest. So this is for many years, and it's not an easy task. It's a big task, and there are few other factors play the role. I would not only blame the overcrowded.
Okay, Adrian. So we read the reports: pushing, shoving, selfies, overcrowding. It sounds like I'm reading a report of a Justin Bieber concert, right? But this is going up Mount Everest, and people are dying as a result of it. Who's to blame for the current situation? Whether you believe that the overcrowding is directly linked to deaths or not, something's clearly wrong. Who do you blame for it?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think it's important to know, people having a passion for climbing Mount Everest is a very good thing, I think. And there is meant to be risk involved. That's part of what makes it different than, let's say, running an Ironman triathlon. Mm-hmm. But there is a problem now. And I think the problem is the level of inexperience throughout many expedition teams. So many new companies have come in and started offering Everest climbs. They're accepting people with very little experience as clients on their team. Their Sherpa are often underprepared and don't have the skills necessary for helping those clients on the mountain. And they're often led by expedition leaders or mountain guides without years of experience on the mountain and certification or qualification. And so I actually don't believe Everest is overcrowded per se. I don't think there are too many permits if you compare it to other mountains in the world like the Matterhorn or Mont Blanc or Denali or Kilimanjaro. The problem is a lack of regulation of the industry, of the money-making industry, the commercial industry, and that's leading to inexperienced teams that then don't recognize potential problems as they build on the mountains and allow accidents to happen that should have been prevented or avoided days or weeks before everyone was up there in that big traffic jam.
Yeah, and if we look at the numbers, Adrian, while it might be true that, well, those numbers don't necessarily constitute a crowd, who do you blame for creating the bottlenecks for the micro crowds which lead to trouble? Is it the adventure companies? Is it the Nepalese? Who makes those decisions?
Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely right. This season was a special one. First of all, people should know, and that there were very few possible summit days because the jet stream sat on the mountain for most of the season. So everyone was compressed into a very small summit window. And then who's to blame? I really do believe it is the adventure companies or the outfitters that didn't prevent these problems from happening. There were lots of possible opportunities. My teams, for instance, saw the problem on the 23rd of May with too many people. We held our team at the highest camp on the mountain, had enough oxygen for everyone to be able to sustain for an extra 24 hours of waiting, and then went on the 24th of May when fewer than 40 people total summited the mountain from either side, China or Nepal. And we had a beautiful day. But there were too many companies up there following a herd mentality because they lack the experience to read the forecast, to make those difficult decisions for their clients, to say, no, you can't go today, even though it's potentially the best day when you look at the weather forecast. People have to make those hard decisions, and companies and expedition leaders aren't doing it, especially some of the younger, lower budget companies. And then that does fall back on the governments. China and Nepal are not stepping up and saying this company shouldn't be here because of these reasons. This company is allowed to be there because of these experience reasons. And I really do believe the buck stops with Nepal, that they need to start regulating this industry beyond just what brings in the most money into the government.
Ram, the man has made a good argument for regulation, right?
Yes, I absolutely agree with him. The biggest problem we are facing, this cheap expedition operator, they do not have a disaster management plan at all, except the few. Few are doing good job. I absolutely agree with him.
Yes.
I was on Everest on 2017. I have the experience that on the ground. I've been in this industry for 25 years. I'm looking Mount Everest carefully. I have no single objection on his reservations. It's absolutely right. What the people want to do it today, summit the Everest. You know, they're not listening their body. They just they're not listening at all, and they paid the money. This is probably they think is a once in a lifetime. They want to get to the summit without a backup plan. It's just for emergency. If there anything happen, they don't have a second plan because they're using the cheap operators. They Google in today,
Right.
and they find the cheapest one and they want to go with it. And at the end of the day, all the government and Nepal have to get the blame. I am pretty sure the Nepal government have to do something here because they have to come with some kind of policy. At least these people need to have a general experience of the climbing mountain. You know, at least they attempt one 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. That has to do step by step. And now the people come with the, with the wallet. I have this much money. I want to climb the Mount Everest. And some of the operators saying, yes, you're welcome. And I am not going to agree with these people. You know, this is not easy task. It takes many years. You need a lot of experience and need to get used to the altitude. You know, it's 19,000 plus feet. And I agree with him absolutely. And, it's not about this casualty is not 100% caused by the crowd. I would say there may be the one or two case maybe play the role. I cannot guarantee that, but definitely there are different other factors play the role.
Okay, Adrian, for those people who might be watching who would love to climb Mount Everest, they've got the money, they've got the desire, but they're not physically fit, definitely not physically fit enough to climb Everest. What would you say to them? What's your message to them?
Well, I think exactly what Ram said is absolutely right. So everyone who has this dream, they should start along the path towards Mount Everest. But that path means gaining experience. And the way to do that is to climb first 6,000 meter peaks. I would say at least 5 of them around the world. Then climb a 7,000 meter peak like Aconcagua. Then climb another 8,000 meter peak like Cho-Yu or Manaslu or Broad Peak. And I think Nepal and China should require those steps before you're allowed to come to Everest. And if a climber or a client with a dream takes those steps, number one, they're going to gain fitness. Number two, they're going to gain experience. They're going to live through storms. They're going to live through failures and having to descend a mountain that they don't summit. And as they build those experiences, they're going to become more and more capable of being a competent team member on Mount Everest.
Ram and Adrian, great to have you both on the Newsmakers. I thank you very much for joining us.